Good morning. Welcome to Story 10, Part 2, Adam's Last Birthday. When that little boy Seth was born, Adam was 130 years old. That sounds very old to us, but it wasn't old in those days. Indeed, Adam was then only at the beginning of his life. He lived 800 years after that. It may seem hard to believe, but on Adam's last birthday, he was 930 years old. If he had had a birthday cake as you do with candles on it, what a sight that would have been. Perhaps you are saying nobody could have lived that long. But wait a minute. Remember, Adam was the first man created by God himself on the sixth day of creation week. He was, therefore, the most perfectly formed man who ever lived. His heart, his lungs, his muscles, fresh from God's own hands, were made to last forever. Indeed, they would have lasted forever had he not sinned. But for this one sad mistake, he could have eaten of the tree of life and lived on and on and on. Besides, in the beginning of the world's history, there were none of the diseases so common now, which cause so many people to die very young. For hundreds of years, Adam probably never knew what it was to be sick. Most likely, he never had a cold, or mumps, or measles, or chickenpox, or even a toothache. So wonderfully had God made him that he kept his marvelous health and strength for most of his long, long life. Only old age weakened him, causing him at last, as God warned him in Eden, to lie down and die, and so return to the dust from which he had been made. Now, if Adam lived to be over 900 years old, as I am sure he did, then he must have not seen not only his sons to grow to manhood, but also his grandsons, his great-grandsons, and his great-great-grandsons. By the time he died, he must have been a great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. I really don't know how many greats to put in. If perchance he celebrated his 900 and their 30th birthday by inviting all his relatives, thousands upon thousands of people must have been there. You see, if all these people were descended from Adam, as of course they were all related to each other. Brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, nephews and nieces, cousins and half-cousins. Thus the population of Earth in that far-off day was made up of one big family, with Adam, the grand old father of them all. But not only did Adam live a long time, so did his children. Seth, that little boy who came in to cheer his heart after he lost both Cain and Abel, lived to be 912. And one of Seth's sons, called Enos, lived to be 905. Others who lived a long, long time were Canaan, 910 years. Excuse my pronunciation. Mahalalel, 895, and Jared, 962. The man who lived longest of all was Methuselah, who lived to be 969, almost 1,000. Then there was Lamech, 777, and Noah, 950. You can read about these grand old men in the 5th chapter of the book of Genesis. And when you do, take a pencil and paper and draw lines to show how long each of them lived. Allow half an inch to 100 years. Work it out carefully and you will discover some very interesting facts. First, you will notice that one of the 9 patriarchs mentioned in this chapter, 8 of them lived at the same time as Adam, only Noah never saw them. Second, you will see that 2 of them, Methuselah and Lamech, not only knew Adam personally, but lived almost to the time of the flood. Third, you will see that Noah was 600 years old when the flood came and lived 350 years after that. And what does this mean? It means that everybody in those far-off days must have known about the story of creation. Everybody must have known about Eden and God's wonderful goodness to Adam and Eve in that glorious garden he made for them. Everybody must have known, too, about their temptation and fall. And most important of all, everybody must have known about God's promise to redeem and restore all that Adam and Eve so carelessly threw away. From father to son, from one patriarch to another, the wonderful story was handed down, so that there was never any excuse for sin, never a reason why anyone should not know God and love him with all his heart. Look for the next one is going to be the man who walked into heaven. Have a great day and have a great week.